Hi, I'm Courtney Bailey, Chief Development Officer for MPTF. What you're about to hear is one of the panels that took place during our recent women's conference, Deal With It, on July 28, 2019. Madeline Hammond, who produces the conference, took great care to make sure we found the best speakers to cover the most relevant topics of today. This event is for the betterment of women in the entertainment industry, but there is such great information here that can really help everybody. So listen, enjoy, and most importantly, feel free to pass it along to someone who may benefit from this information as well. Today's podcast is Have a Great Invention or Idea? You're about to listen to a discussion that was recorded live, so there may be areas where the audio drops out a bit or an audience member's question is hard to hear. But don't worry, you'll definitely get the context of what the panel is about. MPTF is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of MPTF policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by MPTF. The views expressed by our guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Views and opinions expressed by MPTF employees are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the view of MPTF or any of its officials. Thank you for listening.
Hi, happy Sunday. So I have specific rules and regulations that Madeline told me. Everybody's resume is in this booklet that you've gotten. So we're going to go straight, after I introduce everyone, we're going to go straight into questions, and then we're going to have a Q&A. And my name is Iris Grossman. And I'm here with Have a Great Invention or an Idea, which I think is really exciting. And to my immediate right is Elizabeth Farrow, who is the creative director and CEO of La Loupe. Let's show them La Loupe. And I think that's a brilliant idea because you put them on your head, they fall off. You put them in your blouse, everybody sees what you're carrying. Lori Feldheimer, who is the founder of Lori Felt Los Angeles, and she's wearing the most rocking pair of jeans I've ever seen. And you can get them on QVC. And Gail Becker, who is the founder and CEO of Collie Power, which is unbelievable. You can get that in the market. It will change your life. So I am going to just start with a question for all of you. Tell us where or when you had your idea for the company. Like, was it a spark? Were you in a store? Were you in the house? Anybody can jump in and answer. I ask.
Sure, I can start. So I'm the mom of two boys with celiac disease, and they were diagnosed at such a young age that there was no gluten-free food in the store. And so it really gave me a great perch from which to watch the gluten-free industry evolve, and I began to notice all the junk that they were putting in gluten-free food in order to make up for the taste. And so I was always sort of searching for ways to make it better. I stumbled across cauliflower crust pizza one night. I didn't invent it by any stretch of the imagination. You all did. The day that I looked, there were 569,000 recipes. I picked one. I couldn't even tell you which one it was. I made it. It was all right. My sons asked me if I would make it again. I said there is no freaking way. It took 90 minutes to make a pizza crust after I got home from a full day of work. I said, but I'll tell you what, I'll find it for you. And I looked everywhere. I looked online. I looked in stores. I couldn't find it. And my father had just passed away, and I was looking to change my life. I used to work in corporate America, and I realized that I wanted to do something more meaningful. And so I left my job, and I sat my two boys down at the kitchen table, and I made the first call to start a company called Collie Power.
Wow.
So my story is that I was a single mom, and I just told Iris this, but my ex-husband was ordered to pay, whatever child support, and he actually forgot to do that, and like ever. So I was in a really terrible position, honestly, and I had lunch with my dad, and he's like, look, you got to stop chasing this. This guy doesn't want to pay. And I'm like, what am I going to do? He owes me this money. He's like, there's this really weird thing that people do when they need money. I'm like, what? He's like, get a job. And I'm like, oh. So I went back and I got my my stock licenses, and I was a variable annuity wholesaler. I know that sounds like super sexy, but it was a great job. Like, I sold stock products, then I worked off the stock exchange, and then I met my husband that I'm married to now, and he works in the entertainment business. So it wasn't working. Like, I had to be up at 5 a.m. I had 2 weeks vacation, and I never wanted to not work again after what I had been through. So I was watching Suzanne Summers on HSN, and I'm like, I can do that. And so I started my company, and it was called Hot in Hollywood, because I was seeing a lot of things in Hollywood. So what I was doing is taking the styles and recreating them affordably and in all sizes. And I did that on HSN for 14 years. And after that, I'm really proud to be my husband's plus one, but I've been designing for 14 years. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I don't need to do that. And I started to get to know the customers really, really well. And they were so much more inspirational than, J-Lo is great. She has beautiful style, but these ladies are everything. Like, they're teachers, and they work in philanthropies, and they're just amazing women. They're very inspirational. So I rebranded as Lori Felt Los Angeles 3 years ago, and I went to QVC. And I don't know if this is obnoxious, it probably is, but you know what? I do better than my husband a lot of times now. So that's the story. So I guess the answer to your question was watching Suzanne Summers.
I love that. And Elizabeth?
So I started, so ever since I was 15 years old, I've worked. Started as a hostess, and then went on in college. I grew up in France, and so a lot of my summer jobs, I would in high school, which was back in Los Angeles, I would go for the summer and spend back in France, because I always felt like I had 1 foot in being French and 1 foot being American. And one summer I worked for a Parisian French fashion magazine, and it started my career in fashion. And I ended up following after college and moving back to Paris, where I continued just working for these big companies that made beautiful things. And I traveled all over the world filling these stores with beautiful products, and I loved that work. But found myself a few years later, after going between jobs of being in LA and New York and traveling a lot, of being pregnant, having a child, realizing that I couldn't continue traveling and being a mom. I was on the road for about 3 weeks a month, and it just wasn't gonna work. And I met this woman, and she was wearing this necklace with glasses through the loop. And I thought to myself, wow, why is it that every product that's functional is black, leather, and masculine? And I immediately thought, I don't know if you guys know about this catalog Levenger, but for some reason it always appears, but you never sign up for it. It's like one of those, like, it just shows up in your mailbox. And if you go through that catalog still today, everything is black, leather, and masculine. And I just thought to myself, I lose my sunglasses, and why is it that there is only these sort of very functional croquis that are on the market? And so from that one lunch of seeing, this woman who ended up being my co-founder in the company, I took myself to every eyewear store possible, wherever I was, and I asked the question, what do you have to keep track of your glasses? And people said the same thing over and over again. Everybody loses their glasses, but there is nothing on the market to keep track of your glasses. And it was the seed that was planted, and Here we are today.
I love your beginnings. It's just so empowering. How did you protect your ideas? I mean, especially La Loupe and cauliflower, and it is hard to protect, your idea in fashion. Was there a copyright? Was there?
So I'm probably not, so here's what's my attitude, is that I design and I go on air and I sell. And if someone can do it better than me, then they're going to do it better than me. So it's kind of like worrying about your husband cheating on you. You just can't live your life that way. I just,
It's a great analogy.
I don't even know how to, I just
That's
feel like
great.
I got this. I do the best job. And if someone does it better than me, then they're going to win. So I'm not too worried about it.
I love that answer. I found that when I started, and it was really, so many people really helped me launch this. And I remember somebody at the beginning saying, well, you really, should get a patent. If you get a patent, then people will listen to you more. And the eyewear market is, I had never walked into an eyewear store before La Loupe, so I really knew nothing about the optical industry. And I found that I ended up applying and getting a utility and design patent 20 years ago, and it actually just expired. And somebody said to me, you should retool it so you can get another patent. And I found now that I actually don't need a patent anymore because I'm already in the market and established as the original. But at the beginning, it was for me and what I was doing, stores listened, and I was able, I think, to get into more markets and more stores with that patent.
It's a little hard to patent cauliflower.
Yeah, well, so one of the things about patent is you actually have to describe the process. And so we didn't want to do that with our product.
Right.
So we actually purposely did, and it is much harder to do with food. But I think, just to go off what you said, because I couldn't agree more, really the value is in the brand. So there have been, my goodness, we were obviously the first, but there's been lots of cauliflower crust pizzas to come to the market since, and that's great. And, they haven't performed as well, and that's great too, but you know what, it's a big world and everybody likes different things, and it's fantastic. So people who look back usually trip as they're running the race. So we just keep our eyes forward and try not to look back.
So Gail, this question's for you.
Okay.
Since launching in February 2017, which is less than 2 years ago, Cauliflower has become the 8th frozen food pizza in over 500 brands. That's amazing. And it's projected to do more than $100 million in revenue in its second year. Did you have any idea this was going to happen?
Of course not. I mean, there's no way.
I mean, even the slightest.
No, but the thing is, it's also, no, I didn't think about it then. It's not why I did it. I think, what's so wonderful about so many female entrepreneurs is that we all start businesses because we have a particular passion for it, or we want to make the world better, or we want to help people that are in a similar situation like us. And so that's really why I started the business, because I sort of felt, well, it's been hard for me, so maybe it's hard for other people too. And I never saw this in a million years. I'm thrilled by it, and I'm thrilled that we're helping people make healthier choices and making it easier for them. But it was certainly never why I started the business.
And you have another product coming out, which I would like to talk about for a second, which sounds
I'm gonna hire you.
amazing and delicious.
Yeah, we have, so our pizzas are sort of our hero product. And by the way, I hope you all stop by the table downstairs, because in those bags are coupons for free pizzas. Free. Yeah, so if you haven't gone down, go down. But in September, we are launching a chicken tender, which is baked and not fried and coated with cauliflower. It will be the only baked tender on the market. Will have the 86% less fat and 46% less calories than anything else. You can eat the whole bag for 480 calories.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Elizabeth, La Loupe is now in 28 countries. That's unbelievable. Do you do a lot of, and in stores, do you find that the internet people go to your website and just order off the website, because I went and I was putting everything in my cart, as opposed to searching it out in stores once they buy their first La Loupe?
I'd say, and because I started this business sort of pre-internet explosion, I have a really tight relationship with my stores. So wholesale is about 87% of my business.
Wow.
And I do that really deliberately because I find that storytelling is so important in the success of my product. And we have this campaign called Looped In, and we have loopers all over the world who are amazing people, you know, and that wear our products that are looped into their communities. And our mission as a company is to celebrate people who are looping into their own communities. And so for us, telling the story of, you know, why La Loupe, what La Loupe is all about, is about telling the story of the people that wear it. And we feel that stores can do that face to face, you know, more so than we can do through our website, quite honestly.
Lori, when you were talking about making your clothing for women and not wanting to do the Hollywood thing, it's so inspiring because there are women of all sizes. And being a plus size, there's nothing worse than going into a store or seeing a pair of jeans and go, those are so cute, and then they stop at a size, and you are inclusive and of those sizes, and the kind of jeans that you make, and there were some beautiful blouses to go with it, go on QVC, the website, or when Lori's on the air. You can buy it in different styles. And that to me is really important for the average woman. I mean, we live in Los Angeles and we go outside and everybody kind of looks the same. But if you go out of Los Angeles, and that's where the QVC buyer is,
well, that's where most people, you know, so we talk about this a lot in our office. Sophie's from my team is here. There are no isms in our company. There's no elitism. Our denim is $59, and that was inspired by when I was a single mom. I wanted beautiful things and I just couldn't afford it. And so the jeans that we sell, they sold in Bergdorf Goodman, Neiman Marcus, Fred Siegel for $148 to $188. We took those jeans, and by the way, they went up to size medium. We have extra small through 3X, same price for everything, and they're $59. And we figured out a way to do that. The fit that we do on our jeans, we did a fit test on 50 plus size women. They had tears in their eyes because I'm not putting up with, like, I'm a certain age, I'm a certain weight, I'm a certain anything. I can't have fashion. It's like, I don't hear that. So what we've done is we've mastered the bounce, and everyone looks good. And we smoothed out the front, it goes to the back. The woman that works with me on this, she's been in the business for 40 years. Youth is great, but there's no substitute for experience. And so we make super, super stylish things all the way through 3X because everyone deserves that.
That's fantastic. I really, it's just wonderful. Do you, when you were saying about Fred Siegel, do you ever wish that you were in, what do they call it, brick and mortar?
Not even for 1 second, because, well, maybe, I don't know. I guess now I like making money, but how Elizabeth was talking about storytelling, I have the ultimate vehicle. All I do all day long is tell stories, and I listen to stories, and I share other women's stories, and we do this thing. Your group is Loopers. Our group is called Heartfelt, and so we'll show pictures of women on TV, and I'll tell their story. I'm like, this is Heidi, she, you know, and she'll be wearing the jeans, and everyone, like, I don't believe that. You probably see this in your business. It's like movie stars. They think, oh, I'm a movie star, you're a movie star, we should be friends. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. Like, I don't care if you're rich or poor or young or old. I have friends who are 20 and I have friends who are 80, and like everyone gets to know each other, and everyone's story is special. So we just create a platform for people to share their stories.
I love that. I love that. Excuse me while I turn my page. Are you going okay, another question for Lori. Are you going to stay with jeans and tops? Are you going to venture into dresses, jackets like you did in the Hollywood?
We do make dresses and we make jackets. Quite honestly, my issue right now is my time. So I have 4 children. Like, if anyone wants to take over my business and run it, I would be so happy, because you guys are obviously like interested in being entrepreneurs. I just am running out of time. There's other markets. There's Canada, there's Germany, there's the UK. They all have home shopping networks. I'm maxed out.
Okay, so I'm going off script. Being part of the women's movement, the early part of the women's movement, they told us we could have it all. I felt I could have it all, but not all at the same time. And do you feel that being the leaders in your field that you are, that things sometimes get lost? And how do you deal with that?
I have big opinions on all of that, but I have been talking so much, so I'm gonna defer.
Yeah, I mean, I've always subscribed to the belief that you can have lots of things in life. It's just hard to get dinner all ready at the same time, right? Sometimes things have to go on the back burner and the front burner. I think a lot of the reasons why women in particular leave corporate America in much the same way that I did is because we're trying to create the type of working environments that we want to work in. That was one of the driving forces. I sort of looked around, I had made it to the top and looked around the table and thought, I don't really like this view, and decided to create my own. And I think that's really common. But I will say that I don't think I could have started this company when I was much younger. I think it needed me to get to this point in my life where, I have much more confidence, much more opinion. I'm willing to take risks that I couldn't have taken before. And when you look at the data, we were talking earlier,
Yes.
when you look at the data about entrepreneurship, what you see is that entrepreneurs between the ages of 30 and 55 years old are significantly more successful than those in their 20s. And that's because they have the experience to know how to build a business.
And Elizabeth, you were jet setting all over. Do you miss it at all?
Do I miss?
Constant traveling.
It's interesting. It was really important to me from the beginning to build a global brand.
Yeah.
And so I traveled a lot in the first 5 years of the business, a lot. My mom, who's here actually, I think lived in New York because the 3 kids that I had under 5 needed more than a babysitter when I was on the road building the Japanese market and the Western Europe market. And so, and I think that now, after all these years, what's become more clear to me, I'm turning 50 coming up next year, and I think what I've noticed is that for me, the most important thing is to be a great role model to my children and to be, to walk in the footsteps that I would want my children to be able to see that they know who I am. And I do that mostly by advocating for women's issues. I have recently decided to, after 20 years, change my business and turn it into a social good business because I realized that I was really wearing 2 hats in my life. I was advocating in women's issues and running La Loupe, and I decided that, our lives as women depend on our ability to change the women are seen and heard and recognized for their accomplishments. And that was my responsibility to step into the arena. So that's really what I'm focusing on right now.
That's fantastic. Gail and I were saying before, you know, we all have fantasies of what we would do if we weren't doing what we're doing. And I said that one of my fantasies was that I was the buyer at Bergdorf Goodman's after I saw Scatter My Ashes at Bergdorf Goodman. But my grandparents were tailors, so I have a love for it. So fashion to me is, it's sense memory. I think that what you ladies have done is so inspiring because you had to be scared, you had to be terrified. You did it for health, you did it for finance, and you did it because you wanted your own business. And now you're giving back. What I'm trying to say is the giving back part, that must fill you with great joy. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
We give a percentage of all of our sales to build teaching gardens in underserved schools across the country, and they're these wonderful little gardens where kids, like starting at kindergarten, they make the planters, they put the dirt in, they plant the seeds, they nourish them, and then at the end, this is a new program we just added at the end, they learn how to cook with them, because a lot of these kids were bringing home the vegetables and no one really knew how to what to do with them, so we started a cooking component. So it's pretty much the best part of being in business is helping out in some small way.
I don't know about a lot of male-run companies that do that. I think that's intrinsically female, that women give back. Here's an interesting question. I was speaking with a young woman who was doing a paper at Pepperdine about women asking for money and financing of the company. Did you have a hard time asking for the seed money for your companies once you got the idea?
Well, I started my company with $10,000. I have 0 investors, no financing. I don't really do well with other people's opinions, so I don't want their money.
I like you so much.
Yeah, I'm not interested in someone telling me that my whole goal in life, and I think probably for most of you, if you're here listening to entrepreneurial conversations, is I wanted to set my own schedule. I needed to be able to raise my children my way. My husband is, my girlfriend said, you've changed a PC to a Mac. Like, I had to train him how, both of us are working here, big boy. No, like, really, he thinks everyone here works for him in his mind. So, but he's better now. Anyway, so I didn't even ask him for money. I did it on my own with no help because I didn't want to have anyone else's ideas or opinions on what I do. Maybe I would have had a bigger business. Maybe it held me back, but it needed to be that way.
I found at the beginning, I remember it was so challenging to go to the banks to ask for money. And I remember going to 3 different banks and landing on a guy 2 times and a woman the 3rd time, and it was a woman that we got the best loan from. And I honestly, I don't think it's a gender, I think it's that I felt more comfortable asking another woman and convincing, and I think I just did a better job. But it's interesting. It's still hard today.
Yeah.
I probably have both extremes. So I started the business. I had mentioned my father passed away. He was an immigrant to this country. He was actually a Holocaust survivor, and he bought a small house in San Francisco for $60,000 in 1972. And when he passed away, I sold that house, and I put every last dime into Cauliflower. And because I thought it was blessed money, because I know how hard he worked for it. And I thought it was the best thing I could do to honor him. And that lasted, I started the business in February 2017, or I launched in February 2017. The money ran out in September of that year. So I have since then closed 2 venture capital rounds. I can tell you that women today, of all the venture capital money, 3% goes to women. 3%.
Is it because women? Oh, sorry. This is
No,
your job.
please, no, please
Is it
talk
because-
amongst yourselves.
Is it because women don't ask for it, or they're getting rejected?
You know what? It's all of the above. You know, a lot. First of all, as someone who's went to a lot of VCs, I can tell you, 99% of them are men. It doesn't matter if you're in the food space, what space, they're mostly men. So, you know, and, you know, I'm sure, you know, and, you know, so they come, just like in the corporate world, they come at it from a different perspective. Women may not, you know, because they often are starting business from a place of passion, it may be harder to, you know, pass along that passion in terms of how to describe it from a business perspective and why they should invest. But there is just some serious inherent barriers that are limiting women getting that money. What I always say is that if you want to see more women-owned companies and women-owned businesses in the world, there's a very simple thing that you can do, and that is you need to support women-owned businesses. You need to buy their products, you need to tell your friends, you need to post about it. That is the best thing that you can do to help other women. So I don't know, I see jeans and a little thing in my future, so I'm super excited.
I will add to that because my life has been negotiating for other people. And I was really good at that. When it came time to negotiate for me, I would go, all right, they're going to give me this, I should be happy with it. And it was it took me a really long time to ask for myself. And I think what you ladies did was asked for yourself. You said, your stories are so amazing about selling your father's house. That is blessed. And you passed it down. And you started because you had to. And you started because you had this passion. And I just think that that's what makes it unbelievably inspiring. And you're right. My most important thing is that women help women. In my business, there were very few women. But I have had the pleasure of finding women in the business who have been so supportive and so amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you ask questions now because I'm sure that you all have thoughts about this. So when you ask the question, would you stand up and say your name? And we'll start with you, Lee, my friend Lucy.
Hi, I'm Lucy Webb. I am interested because it's starting the business from the ground up in the one big disaster story or the war story that you have of your business, because I always find that that's what you can learn from, you know, in a process, and we all have them. I know in entertainment we all have a, oh, you mean the time that happened, and what you learned from it.
So many war stories over 20 years, but I'd say the one that when you were speaking just came to mind was about 6.5 years ago. I found myself in my garage, in my home, with my inventory, and my partner, who had 55% of the business, had decided that she no longer wanted the business. So behind my back, she let everybody go. And she closed all the bank accounts. And somebody helped me get, a truck at the last minute and move the inventory to my garage. and I was able to move the phone line to a cell phone, and I found myself in my garage, and my daughter, who's now 16, so she was about 9.5 or 10 at the time, the next morning came down into the garage, and the cell phone's ringing, because we have customers all over the world. Some of them knew that there were things that were not okay, but they were still calling into the cell phone. And my daughter at 5 o'clock in the morning, as I was in the garage trying to, just keep the business going, because I still believed in it, although there were lawyers involved, but I had no staff. And my daughter looked at me and she said, "Mom, we can do this." And so so over the last 6.5 years, I have rebuilt it again. And so my story is, and I almost let it go because I said, you know what? This is a sign. This is a sign that I've had it for 15 years, and I should, because a lot of time had gone by, that I should now move on to another business. Some people say after 5 years, that's good, like move on to the next. So it had been 15, and there was something in me that said, you know what? I'm not done with this. I'm not done. And so I started over. And I always say I'm a ponytail kind of girl. Like, I just put my hair in a ponytail, and I was in there with my daughter, and we just did it.
And you learned from that.
And it was raw. Those moments where you are so raw, and it's just you. It's literally just, and we owed so much money to suppliers, and it was just, I just couldn't even look at the reports, because it was just daunting. And I take it all very personally and seriously, and it's another child. But I did it.
You survived?
I survived.
Oh, that was great.
Anyone else want to answer that question?
I mean, I think she answered, like, her story is so big. For me, to quote Jay-Z, like, the genius thing that we did is we didn't give up. And so I've had like a lot of manufacturing things. I just had a huge, terrible thing happen at QVC on Thursday, just with their like little analysts and all this stuff. And I just sat there and I listened, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to stick with my integrity and who I am as a person. And I outlined for them what we had to offer, what we didn't have to offer. And I said no. And I feel like women, and I don't know, I can't speak from a man's point of view, but it's just boundaries. And so what you went through, like, I felt it so deeply when you were talking about it, because I've had things like that over, and I know that if I go to sleep and I let 5 days go by, I'm going to feel like that. And then after 5 days, it's going to become clear what I need to do to fix it. And then I just fix it.
Gail?
Well, I have something go wrong every single day. Like, for the last 3.5 years, every single day, something significantly has gone wrong. I'm so serious.
Really?
Yeah, really. Really,
How
really.
do you survive that? I mean, how do you learn from that?
Well, I'll give you, you asked for one example, so I'll give you an example. I'll try and make it quick. We're in Walmart stores. We're in about 3,800 Walmart stores.
Wow.
And when we first pitched Walmart and got in, it's a very long and hard process to get in. And once we were accepted, then you have to fill out all of this paperwork, and you have to get everything done by a certain time if you're going to, finally get in the stores. And so so one of the things that you need is, as a business, you need a certain credit score from Dun & Bradstreet. You guys know Dun & Bradstreet? And we didn't have it. Not because I had bad credit, but because we just weren't in business very long. We were a brand new company, and we didn't, and most of our vendors weren't Dun & Bradstreet vendors, so they couldn't give us a good score. So we literally had not a score at all. So they said, oh, if you fill out this paperwork and you pay this money, this is D&B, then we'll analyze it and you can get your score up. Well, time kept passing and my score wasn't going up. And we were getting closer and closer to the drop dead date for Walmart, meaning that if I didn't get this in, I would have had to wait a whole nother year before I could get on those Walmart shelves. And so it was the day before literally the day before the close date. And I was a wreck and I didn't know what to do. And so I did the only thing that I knew how to do. And I called the CEO of Dun & Bradstreet. And I left a very detailed message. I followed it up with an email, and within 20 minutes, the chief of staff called me, which is a huge company, and it actually has a happy ending. So I'm not trying to paint them in a bad light. And within 20 minutes, I had the chief of staff of the company helping me with my problem. And today we're in 3,800 Walmart stores. So, you know, ask. Exactly. No avenue is too big.
Yes, your name?
Hi, I'm Grace.
Hi, Grace.
And so I know that you mentioned that all of you started your businesses because of passion and those things that you saw that were missing in the market. You also mentioned that entrepreneurs typically do better between their 30s and their 50s. Well, I'm not quite there yet. So do you have any advice for a younger entrepreneur or things that you wish you knew when you started the business that you know now and you're like, wow, if I had that one added element, it would have helped me so much further along my journey?
What industry are you interested in?
So I'm a writer, but I want to find a way to encourage women to continue writing and reading. So I want to create a product that allows women to read more, to write more, but that doesn't take up too much of their time. Because everyone's moms and everyone's working and everyone's pursuing their passion. But I think that we should continue to develop our ideas and develop ourselves, even in the small minutes of time that we have.
I would say two things. So first of all, congratulations, because I wish I would have known that I had this inside me way back when, because I started much later, and every time I think, oh my God, if only I had started this earlier. So congratulations for recognizing that bug very early on. It's really a blessing. The other thing I would say that I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't do very well, maybe even particularly younger ones, is you need to acknowledge what you don't know. You need to be very clear about what you do know, and you know writing, and you know all of these things. But there's a lot of people, there's a lot of different parts of the business that people may know more of, and that's who you have to surround yourself with. The only thing I did in the food business before I started Cauliflower was I bought it, I cooked it, and I ate it. Literally, that was it. So I just surrounded myself with a lot of really smart people in the food industry who could teach me everything I needed to know, and I still learn every single day. So surround yourself with, figure out what it is that you don't know, and then surround yourself with people who can give you that insight.
Just to second what she's saying, but the part that you do know, I would make myself an invaluable expert in that area. And every single chance that I had, whatever I needed to do to become further an expert in that area, I would spend all that time on.
Yes?
Keep standing up.
All right.
My back is like okay. So my name is Rebecca, and I have a law firm with my best friend, and it's been 10 years, and we do it very differently than anyone in the industry. And our running joke over these last 10 years is all the inventions that we do. The list is just like so long we've forgotten. You know, it's just like, oh, I had this dream and whatever. And so, but one of them is an app. And we are not tech savvy at all. And so I don't know if any of you have any ideas of how to sort of create this app idea. And then my other idea that everyone is always talking about is a food idea. And I'm like you, I know how to shop and cook and eat. And so I don't know anything. It's so daunting. It's like never going to happen. It's so daunting. But it's a product that doesn't exist out there that actually tastes good. So just wondering if you have any ideas or things about the app and then intro to the food world.
Do you know about apps? I feel like I've heard that you don't make a lot of money on apps. Is that your...
I have zero expertise, but I would.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so I keep a journal. And I found I had so many ideas in my journal, I've kept a journal since I was a little girl. So I have just stacks and stacks of different journals. And I found what's interesting in just over the years of meeting different entrepreneurs who've started businesses that dreaming and having ideas of businesses and things that don't exist is like a gift. It's like wonderful. And like, it's okay to have a lot and not to do anything with them. It's just like, it's like dreaming, it's like a beautiful sort of, meditation, about thinking about, gosh, this doesn't exist. And I always found it like it was frustrating that I wasn't doing anything with them. Like I heard you sort of go to that place of like, why am I not doing something with this? Like I could make $1 million, like, what?
It's to affect change, right? It just has to be big enough to affect change.
Yeah.
And one of the things that in building this business, I've like realized that it is having the idea and then actually like executing is like not in the same sentence. It's like it's not the same. It's like all these ideas, and I don't know how to quite put it, but just that I think your points are about being around people who actually know is absolutely key, so in terms of whether it's an app or a food business is absolutely going and sitting down with somebody and saying, do you want to have coffee for 20 minutes is like,
There is certainly no shortage of people who know how to build apps in Los Angeles. Right. There are thousands, there are tens of thousands, and they're actually not very expensive. So my suggestion would be hire one, get some counsel, and and then you can sort of build it from there. The one thing I will say, yes, so having the vision and having an idea, I always thought that was kind of the easy part, to be honest with you. Like, I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and say, oh my God, I thought about making cauliflower. And the only thing that is different between them and I is that I actually did it. So it's great to have ideas, and I hope everyone in this room has an idea. But the really, really important part is you have to do something with it. You have got to take that first step. It is not scary, it is liberating.
And I think you can you talk to a bunch of people, you figure it out, and then it doesn't need to be like, you don't need to set up IBM.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, you just have to do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, my name is Marla. My question to Elizabeth, since you put a patent on is how do you protect your idea? How do you make sure that you're not getting taken?
It's a great question. And how much you want to spend to protect it.
Right.
So we, early, we had a small budget. So the question was like, is it even worth it, to spend the money to get a patent? Because if you're not going to enforce it, then like, what's the point? But we found, I think it was the second year, we went to trade shows, eyewear trade shows, to sell our products. And we were at a trade show at the Javits Center in New York, and somebody came up to me and said, there's a knockoff, like 2 booths over. Did you see them? And I said, no, hadn't seen them, but, okay. And after the 3rd or 4th person came up to me and said, oh, did you see there's a knockoff, like 10 booths down? So word had gotten, we were selling to the right stores, people noticed. I had come from the editorial side, so we'd gotten great press. And so people were like, oh, this is easy. I'll just do a necklace, put a ring on it, and make some money. So after the 3rd or 4th person came up to me and said, oh, there's a booth, they're selling a knockoff, I called my patent lawyer, who happened to work in New York. And I said, will you come to this show with some cease and desist letters? Because there are people that are infringing on the patent. And I had a great woman lawyer, and she believed in what we were doing, and she came to the trade show. Never had happened before, I was told, in the optical industry. And she went up and, you know, gave these letters to the people that were infringing on her patent. And we made the trade publications, you know, after the trade show. And it was didn't cost a lot of money, but it was more about making the point that we were here and we were going to defend. And so it was more about sort of how can you be clever and not spend a lot of money, but get some press. Like I was just like, get some good editorial behind it and make a statement, and for people to take us seriously.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Rocco. I was just curious about your execution, whether you had like, if it was free flowing, like you were just kind of circling the waves, like networking people, and it kind of just went step by step as things came and events happened with your idea, or if you had like 2-year, 5-year, 10-year plan in motion where you're just like, well, I have this money, at the time 2 years I want to do this, like kind of how that involved in your workflow and mindset of getting things executed.
I think it depends on your personality, because I can tell just by meeting Gail today that she probably had like, you know, plans and stuff like that. And I actually feel like Elizabeth as well. I'm scrappy. Like, here's my plan: make money, like move the ball forward every day. Don't spend more than you have. So I feel like you guys should, like, because you're more proper business. You know, I never spent more than I had. Every day I moved the ball forward. If you had met me when I was starting my business, I would be talking to like every single person here, wanting to know your story, and like whatever I could glean from the people around me, I would be, you know, like I made a lunch appointment with Alan Hamill to find out, you know, like I talked to everyone that I could and sort of got an idea, and then I just every day did, you know, move the ball forward, but I didn't do like a proper plan. You did, didn't you?
Well, I don't know if I should be embarrassed, but no.
You should be so proud.
Yeah, no. You know what? It's ebbed and flowed. Seriously, I did not do a 2-year plan. I didn't do first of all, how could I have? Because I never would have imagined that it would be what it is. So I think the one thing I did do is I wrote a business plan. And if for anyone in the room who doesn't know how to write a business plan, it's super simple. All you have to do is type into Google how to write a business plan. And 400,000 examples will come up. You pick one, you write a business plan, and I'll tell you why it's good. It's a good forcing mechanism. It allows you to write down your story in a way, because as time goes on, as you talk to employees or investors or retailers or any partners, it really helps to have it down on paper so that everybody's working from the same thought. It's going to look very different in 6 months than I've done like 4,000 of them, and every single one of them changes. But I think it's very comforting to have something down on paper, even if it changes a month from now, which as fast as these businesses grow, most likely it probably will.
I was just going to say, just for mission and vision, you know, it's sort of just like, here's our roadmap. It's not so much, I mean, there were many years I got caught up in, you know, sort of the numbers and setting these goals, and then we were on HSN, and I thought that was like, to be in Bergdorf's and a line at HSN was like, okay, that was it.
Did you have a terrible experience?
And so literally 1 year I was in the Bergdorf's holiday catalog and in HSN, and I was like, okay, I've arrived, and realizing that actually it wasn't right for the business. And so it was a really interesting sort of, because the business plan was just like, if you can get into the Bergdorf's catalog and HSN, then that was like, you had made it. And I realized that at that moment that I was not walking, it was like my shoes were too big. You know when you wear shoes and they're just like not the right size? It just was not right for us. And so I sort of, you know, stepped back from that business plan and said, you know what, let me stick to like mission and vision and like who we are as a company and what story do we want to tell. And so it's, you know, I agree. You write a lot of different ones.
A lot.
That's 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I guess one more question. Yes.
Hi, my name's Jennifer.
Did you do any particular type of research? You have your list of dreams or ideas, and then you go into the launch mode. So when you're selecting what what you want to do to launch, what's going to make money, what can you actually do successfully? Did you do any kind of market research or anything to make that decision? Yes, I want to go for this idea.
What I did is I watched QVC and HSN, and I figured out what the white space was, what they had and what they didn't have, and so I did that. And then once I figured that out, I talked to everyone that I knew in the fashion business on, how do you find manufacturers for this? Where do you find manufacturers for that? And then I went and talked to all those people. So it was just more doing than thinking. For me, it was just, watching it and then going and doing it.
Well, I'll tell you, I am so inspired by you ladies on a business level, but on a give back level. I think what you're doing with what you have gotten and achieved is fantastic. But the fact that you have taken the time to say, okay, I'm here, I've achieved this, I'm listening to what my consumer wants, I'm listening to the world. And by giving back to the world, I don't know a lot of male companies that do that, and I just have to say, you ladies are amazing, and it's been an incredible, incredible honor to meet the three of you. Thank you. Sure.
Yeah.
So now that you're inspired by this incredible panel of women, let's continue this feeling. Please visit our website at MPTF.com. Follow us on all our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or if you're so inclined, we would be so grateful for your support. You can text MPTF to 41444 to make a donation.